And you were a kid, you're growing up in Wales. And what I thought was interesting is, you know, I don't think of other countries like having paper routes like we did, but of course they did. You had a paper route.
I did. That was the first proper job, possibly the only proper, one of the only proper jobs I've ever had.
Right. Yeah, my brothers all had.
Oh, I was a terrible paper boy. I didn't like getting up in the morning.
Yeah,
so
it's really early.
My mum would have to do the round.
Of course.
Your mum is great. Can I say hello to your mum?
Oh, please, she would love that.
Hello,
are you
Alice.
kidding?
Wherever you are. Mums
so
are great.
Cool.
Everyone should have one. They're just brilliant, aren't they? And my mum...
I love that your mom would end up
She would do the paper round for me.
Well, that just makes perfect sense, doesn't it?
And there used to be a grey poodle in one street that was my nemesis. Whenever I turned onto the end of that, because I lived on a mountain, so I'd have to come up all the streets, and then I'd get to the end of one street, and at the other end of the street, like high noon, would be this grey poodle looking at me. And then I'd have to try and chase it and get away. So I was terrible at that. And then I graduated eventually to an even better job, which was working at Wales's first drive-through burger bar.
Wow, that must have been a glimpse of the future.
It was. It's amazing that I'm not still there. The glamour of working in a drive-through burger place.
How did you break away? How'd you get out of your contract?
It was tough. They wouldn't let... Yeah, I had a 3-picture deal, a 3-burger deal. No, eventually I managed to get out of there. That was just way too much for me.
Well, it's just interesting talking about your mom, but your dad is a Jack Nicholson, like, look-alike.
That's right, yeah.
Look at him. Come on.
That's him.
So have they ever met?
He's had the opportunity a couple of times where people want him to kind of come out onto the red carpet and stand there opposite Jack, and, you know, the two people to me.
Shock him or something.
Yeah, but my dad said, no, it's Jack's night. I don't want to spoil it for him. So he's very, very protective of Jack.
He's considerate,
yeah, he's very concerned.
Obviously, professional respect.
Yeah.
You got to get them together.
Well, hopefully one day I'll do a film with him, and that would be nice.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. You're so talented.
Oh, thank you.
It's really great. All your work. I mean, Frost Nixon. How great was it to be a part of Frost Nixon?
It
you
was
were
amazing.
phenomenal.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Well, it was. Thank you. It was a very long journey because we started doing it. I started doing it as a play in London, in a small theatre in London, and then we did 6 months in the West End. Then we did 6 months on Broadway, and then we finished. I did my last show on Broadway on the Sunday afternoon, and by the Thursday morning, I was shooting my first scene in the movie here in LA. So it was an extraordinary journey that ended up at the Academy Awards this year.
Unbelievable, and well deserved.
Thank you.
You met the Queen, right? Because you played Tony Blair several times.
I've played Tony Blair a couple of times, yeah. And then this year, I got to meet the Queen. I was given a thing in Britain that's called an OBE, which is a sort of big honour. I'm now an officer of the Order of the British Empire.
I thought,
that's
And you've really changed since you've gotten that title. You're acting differently.
I have. You all have to bow and curtsy to me before you leave.
Well, of course.
But it was amazing. I got to go to the palace, and you know, normally you see the palace driving past it in London, and you know the gates are there, and you get very used to that. And then on the day that I went to be given the award, the gates open, and in you go. It's like going into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It's like amazing. And we went in, and my daughter was there, and my parents, and my girlfriend, and then when I met the Queen, you got to have a whole protocol thing where you get told what to do, and I was told that you go up to the Queen and she'll have a brief conversation with you, and then when it comes to the end of the conversation, she'll put her hand out, and you shake her hand, and then you walk backwards because you're not allowed to turn your back on the Queen. Walk backwards away and then out.
Ooh,
so
wow.
I went in to do it, and there's an orchestra playing, and it's an extraordinary thing, and I stood there, and the Queen said to me. She said, so what are you doing next? And I thought, I could tell the truth and say Tron, which would just go whoosh, right over her head, because I don't know how big the Queen is on science fiction.
She loves it. She's totally into
very, very heavy. But less the Tron stuff, more into, the Stephen King stuff.
Right, her favorite.
And so I told a little white lie and said that the next thing I was doing, which was the one after, was playing Prime Minister Blair again in a film called Special Relationship, which is coming out next year. And I said, so I'm playing ex-Prime Minister Blair again, ma'am. And she sort of looked at me. And I think that was when the coin dropped. She realised who I was then.
Right.
You're that terrible fellow who did that film about me.
Was in the movie about me, yeah.
And I saw a little sort of glint in her eye. And then I said, and it's a film about him and President Clinton. And she just sort of went, oh. And sort of laughed a little bit. And then, because she's quite mischievous, the Queen. And she said, that must be awfully difficult. And then the hand came out.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so I took her hand. And the thing that the Queen does, which you don't realise until you meet her, is that because presumably when people meet the Queen, they can get very flustered and sort of like rabbit in the headlights. So she puts the hand out and you shake her hand, and presumably people will just carry on talking or keep shaking her hand. So she does this thing where she takes your hand and then she shoves you away. She goes, whoa!
A boat off the dock,
Yeah,
right?
I'm going. So that was quite. So, but of course, she meets a lot of people, so she needs to.
Yeah.
She needs to get her act together.
What an